Leviticus chapter 24, Oil for the lamp, stones for the tongue.
Part 1, the engineered lampstand and the crushed olive blueprint. Look at your life right now and tell me you ain't smelling the damn smoke. You got people out here on these corners dodging eviction notices, checking their EBT balance at the register like a gamble, working 60 hours of overtime just to pay rent to a landlord who wouldn't spit on them if they were on fire. And you still got clowns running into these blood money churches talking about God is doing a new thing. Cut the bullshit out. The Most High ain't doing a new thing. He gave you the damn technical blueprint thousands of years ago in the wilderness, and you threw the manual in the trash to go chase slave ship theology and prosperity pimp pulpits. While you were sleeping, Babylon was engineering your destruction down to the minute. The courts just spent this year battling over who has the legal right to preach on public pavement without a government permit, passing executive directives and local ordinances to muzzle any voice that don't bow to the state machine. And you dumbass Negroes are still sitting around waiting for a sky rapture that ain't never coming. The Most High operates by law, structure, and precision engineering. Creation ain't an accident, and your salvation ain't a feeling. It is a closed circuit, an operating system, a covenant built on specs so tight that if you miss 1 millimeter, the power cuts off and the wrath lands. When Yah speaks, he gives access codes. You want to know why your communities look like open-air morgues? You want to know why your sons are bleeding out on concrete and your daughters are selling their bodies on digital auction blocks? Because you pulled the plug on the Father's power grid. We are opening the blueprints today. Leviticus chapter 24. We are dissecting the machinery of the sanctuary, line by line, circuit by circuit, and exposing the pale empire religion that kept you blind. The master protocol and the command to the chosen seed. Leviticus 24:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, look how the text opens. This ain't Moses having a creative writing session or coming up with philosophical theories over a campfire. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, when the Most High speaks, he executes code. In the ancient pictographic Paleo-Hebrew, the name of the Father is Yud, He, Wah, He. Peep the engineering in those letters. Yud is the arm and hand, representing work, active power, and direct operation. He is the man with arms raised, meaning reveal, behold, or pay attention to the blueprint. Wah is the tent peg or nail, representing the connector, the binding link, the secure pin that holds the structure together. When Yah speaks, he reveals his hand and nails reality into place. He didn't speak to the heathen nations. He didn't deliver this manual to Pharaoh. He didn't drop this protocol on the Canaanites, and he didn't send a memo to the kings of the earth. He spoke directly to Moses, Mem, Shin, He, to command the seed of Jacob. Why do you think the oppressor class lives work so hard to turn this book into a universal love letter for every nation on earth? Because if you realize this is a classified operational manual given exclusively to Israel, the whole colonizer doctrine crumbles into dust. Yah is one indivisible power. There is no three-headed Godhead committee, no pagan Trinity conference, and no divine council of equals sitting around debating policy. The Father speaks with absolute sovereignty. He predestines the outcome before the foundation is laid. When he commands Moses, he is establishing the chain of command. Creator, mediator, chosen nation. Think about this from a systems engineering perspective. If a manufacturer builds a quantum computer, who gets the maintenance documentation? The verified user who holds the hardware license? Not random bystanders on the street. Israel is the hardware. The Torah is the operating firmware. When Yah commands Moses in Leviticus chapter 24 verse 1, he is initializing the protocol. This aligns directly with Psalm 147 verses 19 and 20, where it is written that he showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel, and he hath not dealt so with any nation. Have you ever asked yourself why your Sunday school teacher skipped that verse? Why did the plantation preachers hide the fact that Yah never gave his laws to anyone else, because keeping you ignorant of the command chain keeps you docile, domesticated, and tithing your damn paycheck to the very institutions that funded your erasure. The crushed olive, high-grade fuel for the continuous flame. Leviticus 24:2. Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually. Check the language here, because this is where the symbolic reality smashes you right in the mouth. Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually. Look at the symbol. Pure oil olive beaten. You think Yah is just obsessed with salad dressing? Hell no. In scripture, the olive tree is Israel. Jeremiah chapter 11 verse 16 explicitly calls Israel a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. But notice what has to happen to the olive before it produces the illumination. It must be beaten. It has to be crushed, pulverized, and pressed under heavy weight to release the pure, clear oil without sediment, without stems, and without contamination. That crushing is the affliction of the so-called Negro across the four corners of this flat earth. You were beaten in the hulls of slave ships, beaten on the cotton fields, beaten in the Jim Crow chain gangs, and you are being beaten right now through economic redlining, pharmaceutical poisoning, and courthouse railroading. But why did the Father allow the crushing? To purge the heathen filth out of you, so that the pure oil, the unadulterated spirit of obedience and truth, could be extracted to power the light. The oil represents the life force, the conductor of divine power, the fuel that sustains illumination in the darkness of this beast system. In Paleo Hebrew, the word for oil is shemen, spelled Shin, Mem, Nun. Shin represents the two front teeth, meaning to crush, consume, press, or destroy. Mem is the water, representing liquid, chaos, or massive flow. Nun is the sprouting seed, representing continuation, life, and the bloodline. Put the blueprint together. The crushing of the seed releases the living liquid. That ain't an accident. That is the biological and spiritual architecture of your entire existence as a people. Now look at the technical spec. To cause the lamps to burn continually, the Hebrew word is tamid, perpetual, uninterrupted, an open and running current. In modern electrical engineering, what do you call a light that must stay on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without a single microsecond of downtime? That is critical infrastructure power. That is an uninterruptible power supply running on a dedicated generator. The tabernacle is the motherboard of the nation, and the menorah is the primary optical display unit. If the fuel is dirty, the wick clogs, the frequency drops, the light flickers, and the sanctuary falls into darkness. Yah demanded pure beaten olive oil because zero impurities meant zero smoke, zero carbon buildup, and maximum lumen output across the spectrum. When you look at your neighborhood today, why is the light out? Why is the block pitch black with violence? Fathers rotting in prison cells and mothers weeping over chalk outlines. Because you tried to fuel your life with the sludge of Babylon. You took the rancid oil of churchianity, the toxic grease of secular materialism, the synthetic additives of academic lies, and you poured that garbage into your spiritual lamp. Then your dumbass wonders why the house caught fire and the glory departed. Exodus chapter 27 verse 20 confirms this exact same technical standard, word for word. Yah does not compromise on the purity of the fuel. If the oil ain't beaten pure, according to the specification, the connection to the throne room is severed. The veil, the shift schedule, and the everlasting statute. Leviticus 24:3. Without the veil of the testimony and the tabernacle of the congregation shall Aaron order it from the evening until the morning before the Lord continually. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Look at the precision of the location and the timing. Without the veil of the testimony and the tabernacle of the congregation shall Aaron order it from the evening until the morning before the Lord continually. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Peep the geography inside the hardware. Without the veil of the testimony, what is behind that veil? The Ark of the Covenant, the core processor, the high voltage capacitor where the presence of the Most High resided between the gold cherubim. The veil was an engineered insulator, a massive barrier separating the raw, lethal voltage of Yah's presence from the holy place where the priest ministered. The menorah was positioned right outside that firewall, illuminating the table and the altar of incense. And look at the shift schedule, from the evening until the morning. Why does the maintenance cycle run throughout the dark hours? Because nighttime is when the world is plunged into chaos, when predators hunt, when spiritual blindness takes over, and when the system is most vulnerable to breach. Aaron had to manually inspect, trim the wicks, clear the ash, and replenish the oil so that the optical frequency of the sanctuary never flatlined. Look at that phrase, it shall be a statute forever in your generations. The Hebrew word for statute is chukah, which means an engraved, unchangeable law, a hard-coded instruction burned into the silicon of the covenant. Now, what did your lying-ass pastor tell you? That punk in the three-piece suit standing behind a plastic pulpit told you the law was done away with. He told you that Old Testament statutes expired when grace showed up, turning the everlasting covenant into a temporary trial subscription that you can cancel whenever you want to eat pork chops and break the Sabbath. That cheap grace con is straight out of the sewer of Rome. When Yah says olam, forever, everlasting, through all your generations, he means the architectural principle is permanent. Now we know through Hebrews chapter 7 and chapter 8 that when Yod He Washin Ayin put on flesh and walked this earth, he fulfilled and dissolved the physical Levitical priesthood and the carnal temple ordinances. The animal blood is done, the physical linen robes are done, and the physical building in Jerusalem was smashed to rubble by Rome in 70 CE because Yah was done with the earthly shadow. Yod He Washin Ayin became the high priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. But did the statute of continuous light and vigilance expire? Hell no. The physical hardware transitioned to the spiritual reality. Israel is now the living menorah. You are supposed to be burning pure truth from the dark night of this worldwide captivity until the morning of Yod He Washin Ayin's return. 1 Samuel chapter 3, verse 3 records what happened when the priesthood got lazy. And ere the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord called Samuel. When the physical lamp almost died because Eli was blind and corrupt, judgment wiped his entire bloodline out in a single afternoon. If Yah crushed the house of Eli for letting the physical oil run dry, what do you think he is going to do to you for letting the light of Torah burn out in your own household while your children get devoured by the state? The pure candlestick, frequency alignment, and sevenfold processing. Leviticus 24:4. He shall order the lamps upon the pure candlestick before the Lord continually. Look at the technical specification for the housing unit. He shall order the lamps upon the pure candlestick before the Lord continually. Notice Yah specifies the pure candlestick, the menorah Tahora. It was beaten out of one solid talent of pure gold. No welds, no seams, no cheap gold plating over base metal. Gold is the highest standard of electrical conductivity and non-corrosive endurance known to material science. In the tabernacle motherboard, the menorah was not just a decoration, it was a 7-branch signal array. Why 7 lamps? In the Master Engineer's Code, 7 is Sheva, completion, structural perfection, total governance of a cycle. You have 7 days of the week, 7 feast seasons, 7 optical frequencies in the visible light spectrum. The 7 lamps represent the complete, uncorrupted vision and witness of the Most High illuminating the holy place. Zechariah chapter 4, verses 1 through 6 reveals the exact same machinery. The prophet saw a candlestick, all of gold with 7 lamps, fed directly by 2 olive trees emptying golden oil through pipes. And what did the messenger tell Zechariah? Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. The candlestick is the distribution network. The oil is the spirit. The flame is the visible testimony of righteousness. Modern technology reverse engineered this exact design into fiber optic cables, where data travels as light pulses through pure glass and reflective shielding without signal degradation. The oppressors studied the sanctuary blueprint and built the internet, global telecommunications, and digital surveillance, while you sit in your living room using their knockoff toys, without understanding that your ancestors operated the original celestial frequency. Look at the word order, arak in Hebrew, meaning to set in an array, to calibrate, to align in battle formation. Aaron didn't just walk in and slap a match to a wick. He had to calibrate the flame heights so the light beams cast forward uniformly across the table of showbread. If one lamp burned too high, it wasted oil. If one burned too low, the array lost symmetry. What does this mean for scattered Israel in 2026? It means your life cannot be chaotic, sloppy, and undisciplined. You cannot be keeping Torah on Saturday and living like a heathen animal Monday through Friday. You cannot claim the name of the Most High while your mind is tuned to the pornographic algorithms, consumer debt traps, and degenerate music of this dying empire. You have to order your vessel before Yah continually. Revelation chapter 1, verses 12 and 20 shows Yod He Waw Shin Ayin walking in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks, which are the assemblies of Israel. If your lamp is out of alignment, he will come and remove your candlestick out of its place with extreme violence. The 12 cakes, nation governance, and unbroken source code. Leviticus 24:5. And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in one cake. Now we move from the optical system to the nutritional and covenant matrix. And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in one cake. Look at the blueprint. Fine flour, soleh. This is not coarse, unrefined, chaff-filled dirt flour. This is wheat that has been sifted through multiple sieves until every impurity, every rock, and every piece of husk debris is completely removed. It represents the refined, unified body of the nation of Israel. And look at the count, 12 cakes. Why 12? Because 12 is the number of divine governmental order. 12 tribes of Israel, 12 months in the lunar solar cycle, 12 gates of the New Jerusalem. There were not 11 cakes. There were not 13 cakes. There were exactly 12, representing the complete, undivided 12 tribes of the house of Jacob set before the face of Yah. Look at how the white supremacist church system lied to you. They tried to tell you that the 12 tribes disappeared in the thin air, that the northern kingdom dissolved into non-existence, and that the church replaced Israel. Replacement theology racket, dispensational deception. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 11 stands as an eternal death warrant against that garbage. Yah declared he would make a full end of all the heathen nations where he scattered us, but he would not make a full end of Israel. The 12 tribes are not dead. They are the worldwide scattered Negro, beaten down under the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28, but preserved by the sovereign decree of the Creator. Look at the measurement. 2/10 deals shall be in one cake. 2/10 of an ephah, that is, 2 omers per cake. Where else in scripture do you see that exact measurement? In Exodus chapter 16, verse 22, when Israel was in the wilderness collecting manna from heaven. On the 6th day, every man gathered 2 omers, a double portion to carry them through the holy Sabbath day, from Saturday sunrise to sunset. The 2/10 deals baked into every single cake is an engineered memorial of the double portion. It proves that the Father's provision is locked into the Sabbath covenant. The bread, lechem hapanim, the bread of the faces, or the showbread, sat directly under the optical beam of the sevenfold menorah. Think about the technical hardware. The menorah emits the light frequency, and the 12 cakes absorb the illumination. In computing terms, you have an input processor, the light of Torah, continuously verifying the integrity of the data registers, the 12 tribes. The bread was made without leaven, uncontaminated by the yeast of false doctrine, pagan syncretism, and serpent seed lies. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 7 and 8 says to purge out the old leaven of malice and wickedness, and keep the feast with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. Yah engineered this entire sanctuary layout to show you that your existence as a nation is sustained solely by His presence, His light, His order, and His covenant bread. Every single week, those 12 cakes stood before Him as an unalterable witness that Israel belongs to Yah and no one else. The unbroken blueprint and the approaching storm. Lest you need to look at what is happening around you and realize the clock is ticking down to zero. The Most High did not preserve these 5 verses in Leviticus chapter 24 for historical trivia. He preserved them because the tabernacle is the master schematic of reality. The beaten oil proves that our people suffering under these Gentiles was engineered to crush out the heathen worldliness and produce the purest witness of Torah truth the earth has ever seen. The pure menorah proves that Yah demands an uncompromised 24-hour standard of spiritual vigilance, and the 12 cakes prove that not one single tribe of the house of Jacob will ever be forgotten, erased, or replaced by Rome, by the fake Jews in our land, or by any heathen power on the face of the earth. The systems of Babylon are cracking wide open. The legislation is tightening. The surveillance state is boxing you in. The economic net is closing around your throat, and judgment is knocking at the front door. If your lamp ain't fueled with pure beaten oil, if your wick ain't trimmed, if your life ain't ordered according to the eternal statute of the Father, when the fire of His wrath falls, you are going to get consumed along with the very oppressors you love more than your own God. You are seeing the setup. You have the specs for the oil, the lamps, the candlestick, and the bread. Now what happens when this holy order is set upon the golden table under the incense, and an outsider tries to step into the camp and blaspheme the very name that engineered the cosmos? Part 2, the 2 rows of power and the bastard in the camp. That pure light don't shine for you to look pretty. It shines so you can see the damn blood on the floor and recognize who belongs in the house and who needs their neck snapped outside the gates. Look at where our people are sitting right now, caged up in state penitentiaries and federal holding pens. Just this month, the federal government dropped a massive investigation exposing how guards inside California women's prisons have been systematically raping, abusing, and trafficking incarcerated women for decades, treating our sisters like disposable meat while the state signs off on the paperwork. That ain't a breakdown of modern corrections. That is the natural, calculated violence of a beast system designed to grind Israel into powder. While you Negroes are crying in church pews, begging your oppressor to give you justice, Yah already drew the operational perimeter in the wilderness. If you don't understand the structure of the camp, you'll let every predatory stranger walk through your gates, corrupt your seed, and spit on the name that holds reality together. We are cracking open the next 5 verses of Leviticus chapter 24, moving from the golden table of covenant order to the violent breach that shattered the camp. The pure table, dual arrays, and the 6-fold division. Leviticus 24:6. And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before the Lord. Look at the geometric precision of the master engineer. And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row, upon the pure table before the Lord. In the Paleo-Hebrew text, the phrase for 2 rows is Shenai Ma'arakot, coming from the root Mem, Ayin, Resh, Kaf. Peep the pictographs. Mem is the surging water, representing immense force and resource. Ayin is the open eye, representing surveillance, absolute vision, and awareness. Resh is the head of a man, representing authority and rulership, and Kaf is the bent palm of the hand, representing covering, containment, and holding power. An arrangement before Yah is an active matrix of divine authority and oversight. Yah didn't tell Aaron to pile 12 cakes in a sloppy heap like some church picnic potluck. He commanded 2 parallel rows of 6. Why? Because 6 is the number of work, the number of physical creation, the number of man's labor under the sun before he enters the rest of Yah. 2 rows of 6 equal 12. The totality of the government of Jacob split into 2 balanced, symmetrical columns facing the veil. Symbolically, these 2 rows represent the 2 houses that Yah established in the earth, the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Look at how the oppressor class lies tried to convince you that Yah threw away the northern kingdom, or that the 12 tribes disappeared into thin air and got replaced by some European pontiff and his choir boys. That is a straight-up lie from the sewer of Rome. Yah engineered the showbread table, the Shulchan Tahor, out of solid acacia wood overlaid with pure gold, framed with a golden crown, so that both houses of Israel would sit directly under his eyes forever. Think about the material science. Gold does not tarnish, rust, or corrode under atmospheric exposure. Acacia wood does not rot, and insects won't eat it. That table is an engineered substrate designed to last through centuries of warfare. When you look at modern computing architecture, what do you see? Dual-channel memory architecture. 2 parallel rows of registers processing data simultaneously to eliminate bottlenecks and ensure data redundancy. The master engineer set up the dual 6-cake array thousands of years before these Gentiles even figured out how to build a basic electrical switch. Mainstream Christianity wants you to believe that the Father deals with individuals in a vacuum of emotional grace. Antinomian anesthesia, cheap grace garbage. Yah deals with national arrays. He deals with rank, file, column, and order. Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 16 through 19 mirrors this exact same architectural spec. 2 separate sticks, one for Judah and one for Joseph, representing the house of Israel, brought together into one single hand before the Most High. If you are not part of the 12-tribe array set on the golden table, you have 0 standing in the holy place. The frankincense firewall and the memorial of fire. Lessons. Leviticus 24:7. And thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Peep what sits on top of each row. And thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Look at the chemical compound specified here. Pure frankincense, Lavona Zaka. In Paleo-Hebrew, Lavona is Lamed, Bet, Wa, Nun, Hey. Lamed is the shepherd's staff, representing authority, instruction, and direction. Bet is the tent or house. Wa is the nail or binding connector. Nun is the sprouting seed, and He is the revelation of divine power. Frankincense is the chemical link that binds the physical house to the celestial fire. Frankincense is a hardened, aromatic resin harvested by cutting the bark of the boswellia tree. When that resin is crushed and hit with heat, it doesn't melt into a puddle of grease. It combusts into a pure, white, highly volatile smoke that rises straight up in a column without dispersing horizontally. It carries powerful antiseptic and antibacterial properties. In the technical environment of the tabernacle, it functioned as an organic air purifier and an engineered olfactory frequency transmitter. Look at the symbol. The frankincense was not mixed into the dough. It was placed upon the rows as an askarah, a memorial, an activation code that triggers the Father's remembrance of His covenant. When the weekly cycle ended and the fresh bread was laid down, that frankincense was scooped off the table, taken to the golden altar of incense, and incinerated. The bread was eaten by the priests, but the frankincense was consumed by the fire. Why did Yah set that up? Because the smoke of the frankincense represents the prayers, the obedience, and the suffering cries of Israel rising directly to the throne. Revelation chapter 8, verses 3 and 4 exposes this exact celestial mechanism. An angel standing at the golden altar with the golden censer, offering much incense with the prayers of the saints, and the smoke ascended up before the Father. When your grandmother was crying on her knees while the police were kicking down the door to grab your uncle, when your ancestors were screaming under the lash in the middle of a sugar plantation in Jamaica or a cotton field in Mississippi, that affliction was pure resin being crushed under the heat of the curse. It became an offering made by fire that Yah hard-coded into his memory banks. The oppressor thought he was just brutalizing a bunch of slaves. He didn't realize he was fueling the very incense that is going to summon the fire of divine judgment down on his own head. The Saturday sunrise protocol and the perpetual covenant. Leviticus 24:8. Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before the Lord continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. Read the text and stop letting these church pimps rob you of your inheritance. Every Sabbath he shall set it in order before the Lord continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. Look at the operational schedule. Every Sabbath. The Sabbath is not Sunday. Sunday is the pagan day of the sun, dedicated to the Roman solar deity, handed down through Catholic councils and forced onto our people through plantation whips and chains. And the Sabbath is not Friday evening at sunset like the Khazar imposter squatting in the land of Israel teach you. The Sabbath, according to the master engineer's cosmic clock, runs from Saturday sunrise to sunset. In Genesis chapter 1, light was called day and the darkness was called night. The working hours of the sun marked the cycle. Every single Saturday from sunrise to sunset, Aaron had to execute a hot swap of the hardware. Remove the 12 old cakes, put down 12 fresh steaming cakes. Renew the frankincense and recalibrate the system before Yah Tamid continually. Look at who provides the material, being taken from the children of Israel, not from the Egyptians, not from the Canaanites, not from the Ishmaelites. The fuel and the flour come exclusively from the 12 tribes. And what kind of covenant is it? Berit Olam, an everlasting covenant. Now ask yourself a blunt question. Who told you the Sabbath was done away with? What lying bastard standing behind a mahogany pulpit told you that grace abolished the Saturday sunrise to sunset maintenance cycle? When Yah says everlasting covenant, he uses the word olam, meaning eternal, continuous, world without end. If a technician tells you that a nuclear reactor scheduled weekly safety reboot was canceled because the plant manager, quote, feels gracious, that whole city is about to melt down. That is why people are destroyed. You stopped keeping the Saturday sunrise to sunset protocol. You went to church on Sunday to dance to trap beat gospel music, eat swine flesh at the fellowship hall, and listen to a preacher whose car note is paid by the building fund, while the spiritual power grid of your household blew every fuse. Exodus chapter 31 verse 16 confirms this exact same technical command. The children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. If you are not observing the Sabbath from Saturday sunrise to sunset, you are operating outside the covenant firewall, completely exposed to the wrath that is about to drop on Babylon. The priestly consumption in the holy place. 1 to 3,000, Leviticus 24:9. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place, for it is most holy unto him of the offerings of the Lord, made by fire, by a perpetual statute. Look at the consumption protocol. And it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place, for it is most holy unto him of the offerings of the Lord, made by fire, by a perpetual statute. Notice the restriction. It shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place. The bread was Kodesh Kodashim, most holy, separated, charged with divine frequency. It could not be taken home. It could not be sold at the camp market. It could not be fed to dogs or handed out to heathen neighbors. It had to be ingested within the containment perimeter of the sanctuary by the consecrated priesthood. Why? Because in biological engineering, whatever you consume becomes part of your cellular structure. Your body breaks down the carbohydrates, extracts the glucose, rebuilds the amino acids, and integrates the food into your muscle, tissue, and blood. By consuming the bread of the faces inside the holy place, the priests were physically and spiritually internalizing the 12 tribes of Israel before Yah. They carried the nation in their bellies while they wore the names of the 12 tribes on the breastplate over their hearts. Mainstream Christianity completely butchered this concept. They took the shadow and turned it into the Roman Catholic Mass, a cannibalistic ritual where they claim a wafer literally turns into the raw meat of the Messiah, or the Protestant communion cracker that people eat while living in open whoredom and fornication. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 27 through 30 warns that whoever eats and drinks unworthily eats damnation to himself, which is why many among you are weak, sickly, and dying early. When Yod-Heh-Wah-Shen-Ayin walked the earth in the flesh, he decoded this exact bread in John chapter 6, verses 48 through 51, when he declared, "I am that bread of life." He was not talking about carnal cannibalism. He was talking about internalizing the pure, unadulterated word of Torah and truth. When he stepped into history, he dissolved the physical Levitical priesthood and became our high priest after the order of Melchizedek. Today, scattered Israel is the nation of priests. Exodus chapter 19, verse 6. You cannot feed on the filthy spiritual bread of this empire, the poisoned education, the Hollywood filth, the white Jesus propaganda, and then expect to carry the presence of the Most High. Hosea chapter 9, verse 4 prophesied what would happen in our captivity. Our bread for our soul shall not come into the house of Yah. It would be like the bread of mourners, polluting all who eat it. If you are eating Babylon's doctrines, your spiritual DNA is toxic, and you are unfit for the kingdom. The Egyptian father, the Israelite mother, and the breach in the camp. Leviticus 24:10. And the son of an Israelitish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Israel. And this son of the Israelitish woman and the man of Israel strove together in the camp. Now look at the sudden, violent shift in the narrative. Everything was running in absolute perfection. Oil burning continually. 12 cakes aligned in 2 rows of 6. Pure frankincense rising. The Sabbath hot swap operating like clockwork. Then verse 10 hits. And the son of an Israelitish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Israel. And this son of the Israelitish woman and the man of Israel strove together in the camp. Look at the biological and spiritual forensic data here, because this is where the camps that preach false doctrine get completely wiped out. Notice how the text introduces the man, the son of an Israelitish woman whose father was an Egyptian. Why does scripture identify him by his father's nationality? Because lineage is patrilineal. Nationality, tribal heritage, and covenant standing flow exclusively through the seed of the father, not the mother. The mother is the field, the soil. The father is the seed. What you plant in the dirt determines what grows out of the ground. If you plant an apple seed in Jamaican soil, you get an apple tree, not a mango tree. This man's father was a Hamitic Egyptian, an outsider, a heathen with zero covenant with Yah. His mother was an Israelite woman from the tribe of Dan, but because his father was an Egyptian, this man was an Egyptian. He had no tribal allotment, no standard, no camp assignment under the 12 tribes listed in Numbers chapter 2. Look at what the text says. He went out among the children of Israel. He didn't have an inherited tent plot in the camp formation. He was part of the mixed multitude Exodus chapter 12, verse 38, that hitched a ride out of Egypt after seeing the plagues. And what happened the moment this mixed seed walked into the camp? The son of the Israelitish woman and a man of Israel strove together in the camp. Friction, conflict, violence. Why? Because the ancient historical records preserved in Jasher chapter 84 confirm that this half-breed tried to pitch his tent within the camp of the tribe of Dan, claiming a right through his mother Shelomith. But the men of Dan stood on Torah and told him straight. The camp belongs to the seed of the father, according to their father's houses. Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. Your father was an Egyptian dog who oppressed our people, and you have no plot on this soil. When his entitlement got checked by the law, the heathen nature in his blood flared up. He couldn't handle the boundary of the covenant, so he threw hands with a true-born Israelite man. Peep how modern society pushes the exact opposite lie. These fake Ashkenazi converts in Israel push a matrilineal deception, telling the world that Jewishness passes through the mother. That is a Babylonian Talmudic trick invented to hide their lack of Semitic patriarchal blood. And you have foolish Hebrew camps today telling brothers that if they have children with a woman of another nation, their seed is cursed, or that the child is a mamzer. That is garbage. Scripture proves over and over that the father carries the bloodline. Moses took an Ethiopian woman, Numbers chapter 12, verse 1. Boaz took Ruth the Moabitess, who was an Israelite by blood, residing in that land. Judah fathered Pharez through Tamar, and Joseph had Ephraim and Manasseh through an Egyptian woman, Asenath. Genesis chapter 41, verse 50. Those children were full Israelites because the seed came from the Israelite father. A mamzer, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 2, is the product of forbidden incestuous or adulterous unions outlined in Leviticus chapter 18, not a child born from an Israelite father and a foreign woman. But when a heathen man plants his seed in the Israelite woman, that child belongs to the heathen nation of his father. That child carries the spirit, the allegiance, and the nature of the stranger. That Egyptian seed inside this man had no reverence for Yah. He didn't have the covenant burned into his bones. When the fight broke out, his heart was still in the pagan shrines of Egypt, bowing to crocodiles and sun disk. When the pressure got turned up, the lack of covenant firmware exposed him, setting the stage for the most blasphemous crime ever committed in the wilderness. The fault line between order and chaos. Look at the terrifying symmetry of Leviticus chapter 24. On one side, you have the master engineer's divine order, pure beaten olive oil, 7 burning golden lamps, 2 flawless rows of showbread, pure white frankincense, and the eternal Saturday sunrise to sunset Sabbath covenant. On the other side, you have the chaotic intrusion of the serpent's world, a fatherless connection to the covenant, a mixed multitude trying to bypass Yah's patriarchal blueprint, and a violent brawl breaking out in the middle of the camp. When you look at our communities in 2026, what do you see? You see the exact same breakdown. You see households with no patriarchal order, children raised without fathers, our women defiled by foreign men who hate the God of Israel, and young men fighting in the streets over territory they don't even own. You are seeing what happens when the bread on the table is forgotten and the camp allows the mindset of Egypt to creep past the boundary lines. This Egyptian man thought he could step into Israel's camp, start a riot with a true son of the covenant, and walk away clean. He didn't know that the holy ground he was standing on was wired with the lethal voltage of the Most High. He fought the man of Israel. The brawl got out of control, and when his back hit the dust, he opened his mouth and uttered the one name that commands the stars, cursing the creator of heaven and earth to his face. Part 3, blasphemy at the border, the Danite lineage, and the execution perimeter. That heathen seed got tossed in the dirt, and the first thing out of his corrupted throat was a direct strike against the frequency that holds the fabric of creation together. Look at what these corporate cartels and white coat predators do today when their back is against the wall. Just 2 months ago, the federal government dropped a nationwide hammer charging over 450 doctors and pharmaceutical executives in a $6.5 billion medical fraud syndicate, flooding our communities with toxic opioids, running kickback schemes, and collecting billions while our people end up in body bags. That ain't just white-collar crime. That is the exact same spirit of Egypt entering the camp, poisoning the bloodline, profiting off destruction, and spitting on the law of the Most High while daring anyone to stop them. When an outsider with zero covenant standing steps across the perimeter, rebellion is hardwired into his nature. We are tearing into verses 11 through 15 of Leviticus chapter 24, bringing the ancient receipts and the historical bloodline records to show you how a single corrupted word in the camp triggered the most severe capital protocol in the history of Israel. The utterance of the name, the Danite mother, and the historical forensic file. Genocide. Leviticus 24:11. And the Israelitish woman's son blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed. And they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shelemith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. Peep the exact nature of the crime that cracked the foundation of the encampment. And the Israelitish woman's son blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed. And they brought him unto Moses, and his mother's name was Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. Look at the word blasphemed. In Hebrew, it is nakav, spelled nun, kaf, bet. In Paleo Hebrew, nun is the sprouting seed or active life. Kaf is the sun on the horizon, meaning time, cycle, or condensing of energy. Bet is the tent, house, or interior containment. When you assemble those pictographs, nakav means to pierce, puncture, or bore a hole through a protective vessel. This bastard did not just say a careless swear word in the heat of a street fight. He deliberately pierced the sacred name, Yad He Waw He, pronouncing it with a curse, attempting to puncture the holy containment field of the sanctuary with raw Egyptian sorcery. In the ancient Near East, pagan magicians believed that by acquiring and vocalizing the secret name of a deity, they could manipulate, bind, or hex that power. This Egyptian half-breed, raised under the dark occult architecture of Pharaoh's magicians, like Jannes and Jambres, mentioned in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 8, thought he could use the sovereign name of the Creator like a common pagan incantation to strike down his opponent. Now look at the genealogy Yah meticulously preserves in the record. And his mother's name was Shelemith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. Why does the Holy Spirit drop this specific maternal dossier into the text? The book of Jasher, chapter 84, reveals the historical crime scene. During the brutal captivity in Egypt, an Egyptian taskmaster broke into the house of an Israelite man named Dan, bound him, and sexually violated his wife, Shelemith, while her husband was incapacitated. The child born from that assault was this very man. Look at the names. Shelomith comes from shalom, peace, wholeness, or false appeasement. Dibri comes from debar, word, speech, or loose talk. The ancient historical accounts preserve that Shelomith was notorious for idle chatter and loose boundaries, which opened the door for the Egyptian oppressor to defile her household. Dan was the tribe positioned on the north side of the camp, the standard of the serpent, the gate most vulnerable to backsliding and idolatry, as confirmed in Genesis chapter 49, verse 17, where Jacob prophesied that Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path. Consider the engineering reality of this breach. The camp of Israel was laid out as an electromagnetic and spiritual resonance circuit. The presence of Yah dwelled over the ark between the cherubim, operating at infinite holy frequency. The vocalization of the name is an acoustic trigger. When sound waves carry the resonance of the name coupled with a curse, it introduces a massive phase distortion into the camp's frequency array. In telecommunications, What happens when an unauthorized signal enters a high-security encrypted network? It creates catastrophic packet collision and threatens to bring down the whole mainframe. This directly lines up with Sirach, chapter 23, verse 10. As a servant that is continually beaten shall not be without a blue mark, so he that sweareth and nameth God continually shall not be faultless. The men of Israel did not handle this as a minor domestic spat. They immediately apprehended the offender and dragged him straight to Moses, the authorized terminal of divine law, because an acoustic rupture at the perimeter threatened the survival of every soul inside the camp. The holding cell, the injunction, and the divine interrogation. Leviticus 24:12. And they put him in ward, that the mind of the Lord might be showed them. Look at the legal and structural procedure. And they put him in ward, that the mind of the Lord might be shewed them. The text states, and they put him in ward. In Hebrew, ward is mishmar, from the root shin mem resh, meaning to guard, isolate, quarantine, or place under protective lockdown. Notice that Moses did not act out of impulsive emotional rage. Even with the blasphemy hanging in the air, Israel's Supreme Court did not stage a lawless lynching inside the camp. They constructed a secure detention perimeter. Why? That the mind of the Lord might be showed them. In Hebrew, the mind is peh, literally the mouth, the direct verbal decree of Yah. Moses already possessed the general statutes against cursing parents, Exodus chapter 21, verse 17, and the prohibition against taking the name in vain, Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. But the specific execution protocol for an Egyptian-blooded stranger blaspheming the name had not yet been hard-coded into the case law. Think about this from a systems and legal engineering framework. When a software architecture encounters an unprecedented security exception, a zero-day vulnerability not explicitly covered in the legacy code, what does the lead engineer do? You isolate the offending process in a sandbox environment, sever its network privileges, and query the central operating system for a security patch. You do not guess. You do not let a mob dictate the ruling. This identical protocol was executed in Numbers chapter 15, verses 32 through 34, when they caught the man gathering sticks on the holy Sabbath day. They put him in ward because it was not declared what should be done to him. It reveals Yah as the master jurist and absolute sovereign. Free will is an illusion. Every judgment, every decree, and every legal precedent in the universe is determined strictly by his mouth. Look at how the Greek and Roman empires bastardized this principle throughout history. In 4th century Rome, under the Emperor Constantine, at the Council of Nicaea in 325 of the Common Era, pagan bishops sat around voting on divine matters by majority rule, inventing doctrines like the Trinity out of their own corrupt intellects. In Yah's government, there is no legislative assembly, no democratic compromise, and no voting booth. Moses stood before the veil, silenced the camp, and waited for the sovereign voice of the Creator to deliver the final verdict. The sovereign verdict from the cloud. Leviticus 24:13. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, look at the transmission line. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, when the Almighty speaks, reality shifts. The Creator of the flat earth, who laid his pillars and set the firmament as a pressurized dome over the deep, did not delegate this response to an angel or a committee of elders. He spoke directly. The voice came from the mercy seat, piercing the physical dimension through the acoustic channel of the sanctuary. Notice the chain of command. Yah speaks to Moses. Moses speaks to the judges, and the judges instruct the congregation. There is zero room for private interpretation. This tears to pieces the modern live streaming service spirituality and personal truth, where every individual claims they have their own personal revelation that contradicts Torah. In the historical chronicles of Jubilees chapter 1, Moses is shown receiving the exact blueprints, the historical cycles, and the precise times from the mouth of the Most High, while the cloud covered the mountain. The Father is a God of strict, unbending hierarchy. When his voice vibrates through the hardware of the tabernacle, the sentence is irreversible. There is no appeal court in Babylon, no stay of execution from a corrupt governor, and no plea bargain. The master engineer delivered the executable code that will permanently purge the infection from the camp. The outer perimeter, the land of hands, and the stoning protocol. Leviticus 24:14. Bring forth him that hath cursed without the camp, and let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. Look at the terrifying surgical precision of the divine execution order. Bring forth him that hath cursed without the camp, and let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. Peep the geographical requirement. Without the camp, mitush la machane. The defiled body could not be executed inside the holy perimeter, where the menorah burned and the showbread sat. To shed his blood inside the camp would pollute the living space of the 12 tribes and short-circuit the sanctuary. The sinner had to be dragged outside the boundary lines into the desolate, unclean wilderness. Now decode the forensic ritual, and let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head. In Hebrew, this is Samak, spelled Samek Mem Kaf. In Paleo Hebrew, Samek is a thorn or prop representing support, turning back, or transferring a load. Mem is water, representing a massive flow. Kaf is the open palm, representing transfer of power and responsibility. The witnesses who heard the acoustic blasphemy were temporarily carrying the toxic resonance of the curse in their own memory registers. By pressing their hands firmly onto the blasphemer's skull, they executed a biometric data transfer. They downloaded the guilt, the acoustic pollution, and the liability of the sin back onto the physical head of the perpetrator where it originated. They became clean. He became the exclusive carrier of the death sentence. Then comes the execution mechanism, and let all the congregation stone him. Why stone him? Why not a quick sword strike or hanging? Because stoning, Regon, is a collective, kinetic purging of the cancer. Look at the mechanics of stoning. Jagged, heavy stones hurled by hundreds of hands simultaneously. The physical reality is brutal and horrifying. The stones strike the skull, fracturing bone, tearing flesh, crushing muscle tissue, shattering teeth, and rupturing internal organs, until the physical vessel that dared to breathe blasphemy is completely smashed into an unrecognizable mound of red pulp and broken bone. The blood pools into the dirt outside the camp, and the flies swarm the shattered carcass under the blazing sun. Yah commanded the entire congregation to participate, so that no individual family carried a personal blood feud, and so that every single Israelite felt the violent weight of Torah enforcement in their own hands. If you participate in throwing the rock that pulverizes the skull of a blasphemer, you will think 10,000 times before your own lips ever utter a curse against the Most High. Just lines up with Deuteronomy, chapter 13, verses 9 and 10. Your hand shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people, because he sought to thrust you away from Yah. Look at history. During the Maccabean revolt in 167 before the Common Era, when Antiochus Epiphanes set up the abomination of desolation in the temple and forced Israelites to eat swine flesh and blaspheme the name, Mattathias and his sons stood on this exact Torah standard, drawing the sword and executing every apostate and foreign oppressor who tried to pollute the Holy Covenant. The camp must be purged with absolute violence, or the whole nation rots from within. The universal statute of personal ability. Chapter 5, Leviticus 24:15. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, Whosoever curseth his God shall bear his sin. Look at the permanent doctrine burned into the record. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, Whosoever curseth his God shall bear his sin. Peep that legal phrase. Whosoever curseth his God shall bear his sin. The Hebrew word for cursive here is kalal, spelled kof, lamet, lamet. In Paleo-Hebrew, kof is the condensed cycle. Lamet is the shepherd's staff of authority. When doubled, it means to treat authority with utter lightness, contempt, insignificance, or disdain. To curse Yah is not just shouting profanity. It is treating the sovereign creator of heaven and earth as if he is small, powerless, or irrelevant. And look at the consequence. Shall bear his sin, nasa chito. In spiritual physics, every action generates a corresponding mass of liability. When you obey Torah, the covenant covers you. But when you treat the Most High with contempt, you must physically and spiritually carry the crushing, lethal weight of that debt entirely on your own shoulders until it drives you into the dirt of the grave. This destroys the cheap grace con and the once saved, always slumber doctrine preached in every Sunday plantation church across America. Your pastor told you that you can live however you want, mock the commandments, eat whatever abominations you desire, and slide into heaven on a cloud of emotional grace. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Ezekiel chapter 18 verse 20 confirms the absolute law. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 verses 6 through 8 breaks down this exact spiritual surveillance. For wisdom is a loving spirit, and will not acquit a blasphemer of his words. For God is witness of his reins, and a true beholder of his heart, and a hearer of his tongue. Therefore, he that speaketh unrighteous things cannot be hid, neither shall vengeance, when it punisheth, pass by him. Yah engineered creation with a built-in feedback loop. Whatever energy you emit against the throne returns upon your own skull with infinite destructive velocity. Whether you are an Israelite born under the covenant or a stranger walking near the borders, the law of personal liability is an iron cage. You will not negotiate your way out of it. You will not buy your way out with blood money ties, and you will not hide behind a fake European Jesus when the wrath of the Almighty lands on your doorstep. The boundary line of judgment. Look at the blueprint laid bare in these 5 verses. You see the dangerous friction of an Egyptian seed trying to claim space in Dan's camp. The acoustic weaponization of the name. The orderly lockdown of the suspect. The direct sovereign decree from the cloud. The violent transfer of guilt outside the gates. And the eternal statute of individual liability. The Most High does not change his standards because modern society built air-conditioned hospitals, digital courtrooms, and pharmaceutical cartels to manage human rebellion. The perimeter of the camp has always been guarded by fire and blood. If an outsider or a compromised Israelite thinks they can puncture the sacred order of the Father and escape the crushing stones of his wrath, history and scripture prove that their destruction is already written into the code. Now, as this judgment settles outside the camp, Yah is about to expand the legal perimeter to include every form of physical destruction, eye for eye restitution, and capital retribution across the entire Commonwealth of Israel. Part 4, the Equalizer Code, capital retribution, and the broken bone metric. The bloody stones outside the gate were not just the execution, they were the physical calibration of an eternal legal algorithm that crushes every bastard and every native who dares to corrupt the frequency of the Most High. Verse 16, the Universal Execution Protocol. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 16. And he that blasphemeth the name of the Lord, he shall surely be put to death, and all the congregation shall certainly stone him, as well the stranger as he that is born in the land, when he blasphemeth the name of the Lord, shall be put to death. Look at the unbending mechanics laid bare in this verse. The death penalty for puncturing the name of Yad Hey Waw Hey applies universally across the entire territory. The text states, as well the stranger as he that is born in the land. Why did Yah hard code this into the Commonwealth? Because the name is not some tribal bumper sticker or some emotional catchphrase you toss around in church pews. It is the sovereign root frequency that holds the fabric of material creation together. In Paleo Hebrew, the root for piercing or blaspheming is Nun, Quaf, Bet, Nakab. Nun is the sprouting seed, the life force. Quaf is the sun on the horizon, the condensed cycle of concentrated time. Bet is the house, the inner sanctuary. When you combine them, Nakab literally pictures driving a sharp peg into the floor of the tent to rupture its foundation. It means making a hole in the vessel. When an individual blasphemes, they are not merely expressing an opinion, they are introducing a systemic breach into the camp's spiritual firewall. This shatters the colonizer doctrine of universal tolerance and the cheap grace con pushed by every Sunday steeple syndicate across the globe. Your pastor told you that grace means anybody can walk into the Commonwealth, bring their filthy pagan habits, curse the Creator, and receive an embrace. That is pure horse shit. Yah declared that the moment a stranger sets foot inside Israel's jurisdiction, that stranger is held to the exact same acoustic standard as a homeborn son of Jacob. You do not get an exemption because your daddy was an Egyptian taskmaster. You do not get a pass because you were raised outside the covenants of promise. Look at the engineering reality. The camp was an enclosed circuit. When someone inside that perimeter emits a destructive frequency against the Creator, the law mandates an immediate, total purge. The punishment is stoning by the whole congregation. Every man picking up a jagged rock, surrounding the offender, and smashing his skull to pieces until the brain matter leaks into the dirt and his bones are pulverized into powder. Why? Because collective execution forces every member of the Commonwealth to actively participate in severing the cancer from their own body. It eliminates personal feuds and turns judgment into a national maintenance cycle. Just this month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation admitted behind closed doors that they have quietly doubled their active artificial intelligence surveillance programs to over 139 high-impact use cases, deploying predictive algorithms and real-time facial recognition grids to hunt and catalog our people on every corner. Babylon understands the power of total surveillance and absolute jurisdiction. They reverse engineered the concept of an unyielding perimeter, but they weaponized it for tyranny, using digital drags to monetize your captivity while letting corporate blasphemers run wild. Scripture laid down the true surveillance thousands of years ago. In the book of Jubilees, chapter 36, the patriarchs were instructed that the law of the Most High searches the reins in the heart, leaving no breach unpunished. Psalm 139, verses 7 through 10, proves there is nowhere to hide from His Spirit. Whether you are an Israelite catching the bus to a warehouse shift in 2026, or an Egyptian bastard walking the perimeter of the ancient camp, the moment you open your mouth to defame the Father who engineered your breath, your life is legally forfeit, and the stones of retribution are already falling towards your head. Verse 17, the blood debt of human life. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 17, and he that killeth any man shall surely be put to death. The master engineer shifts the protocol from acoustic treason against the throne to the physical destruction of the image of life. Yah commanded, he that killeth any man shall surely be put to death. The Hebrew phrase here is nakah nefesh adam, literally smiting the living soul of a man. Look at the word nefesh. In Paleo Hebrew, nun is the seed or active life. Pei is the open mouth, representing breath or speech. Shin is the two front teeth, representing fire, consumption, and sharp power. The nefesh is the breath-driven, blood-fueled life vessel designed by Yah. When a murderer takes a blade, drives it through a brother's rib cage, punctures the lungs, and watches the dark arterial blood spray across the concrete, that murderer has dismantled a biological supercomputer engineered by the Creator himself. You cannot fix that with a 5-year plea deal, a suspended sentence, or a probation officer checking a box. The Pale Empire religion and its corrupt judicial racket created a blood money economy where wealthy killers post bail, hire corporate defense attorneys, and walk out of air-conditioned courtrooms while our brothers rot in solitary confinement for petty survival crimes. That is the antithesis of Torah. Genesis chapter 9, verse 6 established the unalterable thermodynamic law of justice. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. Numbers chapter 35, verse 33 hits even harder. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. You wonder why your neighborhood is cursed? You wonder why the soil under our feet feels dead and heavy? Because decades of drive-bys, police shootings, and unavenged fratricide have soaked the pavement in innocent Israelite blood, and not one single droplet of the murderer's blood has been poured out in righteous execution to balance the scales. The land is gagging on unpurged blood. In technical terms, murder is a catastrophic failure of system integrity. When a unit of the covenant network is illegally terminated, the energy debt does not just disappear into thin air. It sits on the collective ledger of the nation like toxic debt on a defaulted balance sheet. The only payment that can zero out that balance is the life force of the one who terminated the vessel. When an execution is carried out under Torah, the executioner is not committing an act of private vengeance. He is executing a system-level garbage collection routine, purging the corrupt process so the rest of the network can operate without crashing. This completely shreds the antinomian lie that Yod, He, Wah, Shin, Ayin abolished capital punishment when he walked among us. When he told the Pharisees in Matthew chapter 26, verse 52, that all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword, he was not preaching pacifism. He was quoting the eternal kinetic feedback loop of Leviticus chapter 24, verse 17. If you draw iron to murder a man, the code of creation guarantees that iron will find your own throat. Verse 18, animal restitution and economic symmetry. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 18. And he that killeth a beast shall make it good, beast for beast. Notice how the Creator immediately draws a hard, razor-sharp distinction between the value of a human soul and the value of property. And he that killeth a beast shall make it good, beast for beast. In Hebrew, shalem, from the root shin, lamet, mem, shalom, which means restitution, making whole, completing a broken transaction. Look at the precision of the master engineer. A human life cannot be compensated with money, gold, or property. A murderer must die. But an animal, a beast, behemoth, represents functional property, labor energy, and economic capital. If you slaughter another man's ox, if you poison his donkey, if you destroy his livestock, Yah does not demand your physical execution. He demands full, exact restitution. Nefesh tekat nefesh for the beast, a living, functional equivalent for the one you destroyed. This verse alone obliterates the modern banking syndicate and corporate insurance fraud that dominates our lives in 2026. Look at how this beast system operates today. You get your car totaled by a reckless driver. You get your inventory destroyed by corporate negligence, or you get your small business wiped out by predatory developers. And what happens? You file an insurance claim and they hit you with a massive deductible, deny your payout on page 52 of the fine print, drag you through small claims court for 3 years, and leave you financially ruined while the corporate criminal gets a federal bailout and a tax write-off. Torah knows nothing of these paper shuffling shell games. Under the law of the Most High, if you destroy another man's means of production, you do not hand him an IOU. You deliver an identical, functioning beast to his gate before sunset. You replace the lost torque. You replace the lost milk. You replace the lost agricultural output with your own resources until his ledger is completely restored. Consider the engineering wisdom embedded in this principle. An ox in ancient Israel was a four-legged tractor, a high-torque biological engine used to plow fields, haul timber, and thresh grain. When an ox was killed, the victim's entire agricultural pipeline was shut down. The command, beast for beast, forced the offender to transfer immediate operational machinery to the victim, ensuring that the food supply of the community remained stable. Exodus chapter 22 verse 1 expands this protocol even further. If a man steals an ox and kills it or sells it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. The punitive multiplier was scaled based on the animal's economic utility. An ox required 5-fold restitution because it produced ongoing labor, while a sheep only required 4-fold because its value was primarily in its wool and meat. The apocryphal book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 8 warns you, "Set not thine heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit thee in the day of calamity." The Most High built creation with absolute economic symmetry. You cannot steal, destroy, or sabotage another brother's livelihood without the law demanding a pound-for-pound restoration. If you wreck the engine that feeds his children, you must hand over your own engine to keep his family alive. Verse 19, the exact geometry of kinetic judgment. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 19. And if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. Here is the root mathematical axiom that has terrified tyrants and hypocrites for 4,000 years. And if a man cause a blemish in his neighbor, as he hath done, so shall it be done to him. In the Paleo-Hebrew, the word for blemish is mem, wa, mem. Mem represents mighty water, chaos, or blood. Wa is the nail, the binding peg. A blemish is a permanent trauma nailed into the physical vessel. A gouged eye, a severed ear, a crushed jaw, a severed tendon that leaves the man limping through the dirt for the rest of his natural life. Look at the divine decree. Kasher asa kenya aselo. Literally, just as he has manufactured, exactly so shall it be manufactured upon him. This is not sadistic cruelty. This is the pure, unyielding physics of kinetic justice. Yah established a one-to-one geometric reflection between the violence you inflict and the judgment you receive. If you break a man's arm in a vicious assault, the Commonwealth does not lock you in a cage to eat state-funded meals while watching television. The authorized judges take you to the public square, secure your arm across the stone block, and bring down the iron rod until the bone snaps in the exact same place with the exact same velocity. Why did Yah engineer the law with this terrifying precision? Because it is the only psychological mechanism that completely eradicates arbitrary violence. When a wicked man knows that every bruise, every laceration, and every fracture he inflicts on his neighbor will be mirrored directly upon his own flesh by the judicial authority, violence stops cold. Look at what we have in 2026 instead. A predatory criminal class that beats elderly women at the gas station, stumps young men half to death on the subway platforms, and shoots bystanders in gang crossfire, knowing that at worst, they will get 3 hots in a cot, an Xbox in the day room, and a chance at early parole. The victim is left with a fractured skull, permanent brain damage, and a lifetime of medical debt, while the perpetrator gets coddled by social workers and prison reform activists. That whole system is an abomination. Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 21 declares, "And thine eyes shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot." In the book of Jasher chapter 90, when the kings of the Canaanites were captured by Israel after their unprovoked wars of aggression. Adoni-Bezek confessed in Judges chapter 1, verse 7. 70 kings, having their thumbs and their great toes cut off, gathered their meat under my table. As I have done, so God hath requited me. Even a heathen warlord understood that the universe runs on an inescapable mirror circuit. Yah engineered reality so that every physical act of malice carries an identical kinetic recoil. You cannot cause a blemish in a brother of the covenant and expect to walk away intact. The Father records the measurement of the strike, the depth of the wound, the angle of the fracture, and He ensures that the exact same specification is hammered back into your own flesh. The irreversible ledger of blood and bone. Look at the 4 verses we just tore open. Leviticus chapter 24, verses 16 through 19 is not an obsolete code from a dusty tent in the desert. It is the master schematic of divine jurisprudence. Yah showed Moses that a healthy nation cannot survive on sentimentality, emotional sermons, or corrupt financial settlements. The frequency of the name must be protected by capital punishment at the perimeter. The sanctity of the human life vessel must be defended by the blood of the murderer. The economic stability of the community must be guaranteed by dollar for dollar, beast for beast restitution. And the safety of the brother's physical body must be guarded by the terrifying certainty of exact physical retribution. Every single problem our people face across the globe, from the predatory policing in the urban centers, to the unchecked corporate theft of our resources, to the senseless violence tearing apart our families, stems directly from abandoning this blueprint. We allowed the nations to replace the flawless mathematics of Torah with their corrupt, paper-shuffling legal syndicates where money talks and the poor get crushed. Yah has not forgotten the measurements. The ledger is open. The scales are balanced on the edge of a blade, and every broken bone, every stolen beast, and every spilled drop of blood is about to be demanded back from the hands of those who engineered our captivity. Now, in part 5, we are going to drive it straight through the floor, breaking down verses 20 through 23 to reveal the ultimate law of the stranger, the mirror of tooth and eye, and the final execution that sealed this chapter forever. Part 5, the immutable equation of retribution and the crushing stones of closure. We are standing at the absolute zero mark of divine jurisprudence. And if you think the Almighty operates on some crooked, negotiable human loophole, you're about to get shattered against the bedrock of His throne. Verse 20, the unforgiving mirror and the symmetry of kinetic justice. Leviticus 24:20, breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As He hath caused a blemish in a man, so shall it be done to him again. The text reads, Shever takat shever, ayin takat ayin, shin takat shin, kasher yitin moon ba'ada, kin yinatin bo. Look at the raw physics of what the master engineer laid down. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As He hath caused a blemish in a man, so shall it be done to him again. This is pure, uncorrupted covenant mathematics. The Pale Empire religion and that cheap Grace Khan tried to take the words of Yad He Washin Ayin in Matthew chapter 5 verse 38 and twist them into some pacifist, doormat surrender doctrine where our people are supposed to turn the other cheek while getting stomped into the dirt. That is a lie from the pit of hell. When Yad He Washin Ayin spoke on that mount, He was addressing personal, petty grudges, spiteful retaliation, and civil disputes under Roman occupation. He never abolished the divine criminal code of the Torah. He came to magnify the law, not destroy it. The symbolic language here cuts straight to the core mechanics of human agency. An eye represents perception, discernment, surveillance, and spiritual vision. A tooth represents consumption, economic power, biting strength, and sustenance. A breach represents structural fracture, social disruption, and the shattering of integrity. When an individual uses their physical body to strike out the light of another brother's eye or smash the grinding mechanism of another man's teeth, they have introduced an intentional deficit into Yah's engineered ecosystem. The law of Takat, which means under, in place of, or direct substitution, demands that the exact energetic deficit be mirrored back into the physical hardware of the perpetrator. Look at the engineering reality. Yah constructed reality with zero margin for ungrounded electrical current. In modern electrical engineering, when you build a power grid, every single surge must have a dedicated ground wire, or the entire transformer blows up. The master engineer wired the moral universe with an identical grounding circuit. You cannot discharge malicious kinetic violence against an image bearer of the covenant line and expect that energy to dissipate into thin air. If you crack a man's bone, the universe records the exact foot-pounds of force, the angle of the fracture, and the structural damage. And the legal framework of Torah demands an identical mechanical counterstrike. This is confirmed in Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 21, where the statute stands absolute. And thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. In the book of Jasher, chapter 90, when Adoni-Bezek had his thumbs and great toes cut off, he did not cry about unfair treatment. He openly declared that as he did to 70 kings, so Elohim requited him. The principle of kinetic symmetry is woven into the very fabric of existence. Look at your life in 2026. You deal with a legal system that lets corporate executives poison water tables, fleece pension funds, and walk away with golden parachutes, while an Israelite brother gets 20 years for stealing food to survive. That is Babylon's asymmetrical abomination. Yah's government does not accept monetary bribes or corporate settlements for broken bodies. If you fracture a brother's jaw, your jaw gets broken on the public square. If you put out his light, your socket gets scraped clean. The symmetry of retribution is absolute, and until Israel returns to this standard, our communities will remain lawless battlegrounds where the wicked prey upon the defenseless without fear of reciprocal consequence. Verse 21, the restoration boundary and the capital ledger. Leviticus 24:21. And he that killeth the beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth the man, he shall be put to death. The blueprint divides the ledger with surgical precision. And he that killeth the beast, he shall restore it. And he that killeth a man, he shall be put to death. Notice how the Father separates commercial property from the eternal breath of life. The Hebrew word for killing a beast here is maka behema, which relates to striking down an animal asset. The remedy is yeshalamana. He shall make restitution. He shall pay it in full, dollar for dollar, resource for resource. But the moment the text transitions to Maka Adam, striking down a human being, the economic option is instantly vaporized. Yumat, he shall surely be executed. This completely demolishes the blood money churches and the corporate state that treats murder as an insurable liability. Look at the modern world. When police hunt down our sons in the streets, or when industrial cartels dump toxic chemicals into our neighborhoods, causing cancer clusters, the oppressor's court slaps a financial settlement on the corpse. They cut a check, pay off a grieving mother, and the murderer walks free to strike again. That is straight up satanic governance. Symbolically, the beast, Behemoth, represents earthly productivity, biological labor machinery, and commercial capital. It is an engine of physical production. Because capital is replaceable, economic restitution restores the thermodynamic balance of the community. But man, Adam, is the living vessel carrying the breath of the Almighty, the biological terminal through which Yah's covenant interfaces with the flat earth. You cannot print fiat currency to replace a biological frequency terminal designed by the Most High. The only substance capable of cleansing the earth of spilled blood is the physical blood of the murderer. Look at the hardware specs. Genesis chapter 9 verse 6 laid down the invariant source code. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. Numbers chapter 35 verse 31 explicitly commands, moreover ye shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death. Numbers chapter 35 verse 33 drives the nail through the coffin. For blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Just look at the corruption in the news right now. Just a few weeks ago, in late July 2026, federal courts convicted a Louisiana church pastor named Dale Sanders for embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars from his congregations to finance personal gambling, luxurious dining, and high-dollar vanity. That pulpit parasite thought he could use the holy sanctuary as an unmonitored ATM, gamble away the resources of scattered Israel, and walk away behind a suit and a smile. Babylon's courts might give him a paper sentence in an air-conditioned federal facility, but under the righteous jurisdiction of Torah, financial predators who fleece the flock are held to strict restitution, and blood-guilty tyrants pay with their physical lives. You see it now? Babylon protects the thief and coddles the murderer while extracting every last drop of blood from the righteous. But under Yah's government, if you destroy a brother's property, you work until your hands bleed to restore every dime. And if you take a human life in malice, your life breath is terminated at the perimeter, without mercy, without appeal, and without delay. Verse 22, the absolute jurisdiction of one law. Leviticus 24:22. Ye shall have one manner of law, as well for the stranger, as for one of your own country, for I am the Lord your God. Hear the roaring frequency of sovereignty. Mishpat echad yihye lachem, kager kazrach yihye, ki ani yud he vav he Elohechem. You shall have one manner of law, as well for the stranger, as for one of your own country, for I am the Lord your God. This verse completely obliterates the dispensational deception, the two-tier citizenship scam, and the entire Gentile graft gospel that claims outsiders get a special hall pass to break the Father's statutes while Israel gets judged. The church told you that the law was only for harsh Old Testament times and that Gentiles operate under a different dispensation of greasy grace. That is pure sewage. Yah says there is mishpat echad, one single operating system. The symbolic contrast between the ger, the stranger, the outsider residing in the geopolitical jurisdiction of the camp, and the Ezra, the homeborn, the native root of the Israelite bloodline, establishes total jurisdictional integrity. The word Ezra comes from a root meaning a native tree, firmly planted in its indigenous soil, drawing nutrients directly from the covenant root. The ger is an imported branch, a temporary dweller. Yah does not alter the fundamental laws of gravity, thermodynamics, or holiness based on where your flesh was born. If an outsider steps onto covenant soil, he submits to covenant frequency, or he gets expelled or destroyed. Consider the engineering precision. In computing, you cannot have two different sets of microcode running on the same logic gate simultaneously without causing an instantaneous system crash. A processor executes one single instruction set architecture. Yah engineered his commonwealth as a unified computational architecture. There is no dual standard operating system. You do not get an exemption for the Sabbath because your daddy was an Egyptian. You do not get a discount on capital penalties because you come from a foreign nation. The same voltage that powers the lights will fry anyone who sticks a knife into the socket. Look at Exodus, chapter 12, verse 49. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Numbers, chapter 15, verse 16, confirms it. One law and one manner shall be for you, and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. This truth is sealed by the closing signature of the verse. Ki ani, Yud He, Waw He, Elohechem, because Yah is the sole sovereign engineer of the entire realm. What does this mean for our people standing in the concrete cages of modern empires? Look at how the oppressor operates. They establish one legal standard for their elite class, complete with diplomatic immunity, sealed dockets, offshore trusts, and private arbitration, and a brutal, militarized penal standard for the sons of Jacob on the street corner. They profile you, target you, and sentence you to decades for administrative infractions, while foreign oligarchs buy up your city blocks with stolen capital and pay zero tax. Yah's kingdom is the absolute death warrant for their two-tier corporate fraud. When the kingdom of Elohim is established in the earth under the iron rod of Yad-Heh-Waw-Shin Ayin, the nations will conform to the exact measurements of Torah, or they will be broken into pieces like a potter's vessel. Verse 23, the executed verdict and the cleansed camp. Leviticus 24:23. And Moses spake to the children of Israel that they should bring forth him that had cursed out of the camp and stone him with stones. And the children of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses. Look at the final execution of the divine decree. And Moses spake to the children of Israel that they should bring forth him that had cursed out of the camp and stone him with stones. And the children of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses. There is no room for sentimental tears here. The Egyptian Danite blasphemer was not given a suspended sentence. He was not sent to anger management, and he was not assigned community service. He was physically marched past the perimeter of the 12 tribes, beyond the standard of Dan, out into the dry dust of the wilderness. The entire congregation lifted the heavy, jagged stones of the earth and brought them crashing down upon his skull, crushing his ribs, shattering his jaw, and pounding his rebellious flesh into a crimson pulp until the breath of life was violently extinguished from his frame. The symbolic mechanics of stoning, regum, are profound. The stones represent the unyielding, foundational elements of creation, the bedrock of Yah's creation, rising up to execute judgment against the vessel that dared to blaspheme the name of its maker. When an individual curses the frequency of the Creator, the physical earth itself is weaponized against them. Bringing him out of the camp, El Michutz, Lama Kane, signifies absolute excommunication and quarantine. The holy camp must not be polluted by the rotting carcass of an executed criminal. The contamination is excised from the body politic. In technological terms, this was the execution of a critical system purge command. When malicious malware attempts to overwrite the primary operating kernel, the security protocol does not reason with the virus. It identifies the rogue process, isolates it in a quarantine sandbox outside the memory stack, and permanently deletes it from the drive. The children of Israel did not hesitate. The text declares, Uven Yisrael asu kasher siva, Yud He Waw He et Moshe. They executed the exact code without adding or subtracting a single character. This aligns directly with Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 5 through 7, where it is commanded that the hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people, so thou shalt put the evil away from among you. In the book of the covenant, holiness is not an abstract feeling you get while singing songs in an air-conditioned room. Holiness is the ruthless, active maintenance of divine boundary lines. The entire chapter of Leviticus 24 closes on this violent, pristine act of obedience. From the pure beaten olive oil that kept the lamps blazing continually before the veil, to the 12 fresh loaves of unleavened showbread stacked in 2 royal rows under pure frankincense, to the lethal quarantine and public execution of the half-breed who cursed the name. The message is clear. Yah will have absolute order in his camp, or he will purge the camp with blood and fire. The altar of final judgment and the closing gate. Lest Israel, look at the ground beneath your feet and smell the smoke rising from the horizon. We have walked through every single verse, every blueprint, every ratio, and every bloody execution in Leviticus chapter 24. You have seen how the Father engineered the tabernacle to run on high-grade beaten oil, how he set the 12 tribes perpetually under his gaze upon the golden table, and how he guarded the frequency of his holy name with the lethal penalty of the crushing stone. This is your moment of final reckoning. If you are still running your mouth like that Egyptian bastard, treating the name of Yod-Hey, Wah-Hey like common street slang, you are standing directly in the crosshairs of his wrath. If you are sitting in these Sunday plantation whorehouses, defending pastors who gamble your money away while preaching that the law of God is dead, you are drinking the cup of your own destruction. If you think you can live in the camp of the covenant while walking in the lawless patterns of Egypt, you will find yourself dragged outside the gates when the real judgment lands. Stop playing with the master engineer of heaven and earth. Throw down your foreign allegiances. Strip off the false doctrines of the nations. Purge your household of every Egyptian idol, and align your life with the immutable code of the Torah. The scales are balanced. The witnesses have stepped forward. The perimeter is locked down, and the crushing stones of Yah's righteous judgment are already falling from the sky. Turn back to the covenant right now, or get pulverized into dust beneath the weight of his eternal law. Shalom.
You had your chance. You watched it pass. Now the door is closing fast. Yeah, you come around with another excuse. Same old bargain with a different use. You want an answer that bends your way, then disappear when there's a price to pay. I've heard enough of the careful talk, all those promises drawn in chalk. One hard rain and the words are gone, so tell me now what you're standing on. No more waiting for the right conditions. No more hiding behind good intentions. You want the truth, then here it comes. There'll be no second warning, no signal down the road. You either carry what you came here for, or leave behind the load. There'll be no second warning, no shelter in between. Put your name beside the choice you make, and tell me what it means. I've seen the room when the pressure climbs. Everybody's braving the easier times, but when the numbers turn and the doors get thin, that's when you learn what you're dealing with. I don't need thunder to make my case. I don't need anger filling up a space. Just one decision without disguise. Something solid when I meet your eyes. No more waiting for the right conditions. No more hiding behind good intentions. You've got the floor, so make it count. There'll be no second warning, no signal down the road. You either carry what you came here for, or leave behind the load. There'll be no second warning, no shelter in between. Put your name beside the choice you made, and tell me what it means. Every road gets narrow somewhere. Every hand gets caught. You could spend your life preparing and still refuse it all. But the clock won't ask permission, and the world won't rearrange. There's a moment when deciding is the only thing that changes.
Say it once, make it plain. No rehearsal, no escape. Stand your ground, take the weight.
What you choose is what you make.
There'll be no second warning,
No signal down the road. You either carry what you came here for, or leave behind the load.
there'll be no second warning.
belongs to you.